Welcome to Tea, Toast, and Theology, All Things Nourishing, a podcast by The Table. Find us on the web at the-table.church.
And before I hand over to Robin and Sandy, who will do a coin toss and decide who's going first, uh, I just want to mention a sequence of things. Firstly, the Bible study on Wednesday. That Bible study opened to me what I had been feeling for the last few weeks, especially. Starting with Scott and Julie speaking here with no notes, and I think doing a better job than most preachers would do. Uh, and it was not just the fact that they felt comfortable just standing up and speaking, but the content of what they were saying, right? And then not only the content, but I see that in the actions of this community, because the core message of our Christian faith is what we had before us through the leadership of Chris being put before us to discuss. And it was about building up the community, but not only just building up the community, but building up all of the community, not just those we want, right? And there was this one line, very short line, which Chris sort of focused on that as his own personal reflection, and I was moved by that, which was,
don't quench the spirit.
Do not quench the spirit. Do not quench the spirit. Do not quench the spirit. And the Spirit is the Holy Spirit, and it shows up in so many different ways. And what I loved about last night was, and I say that a lot, that I know that not everyone who gathers here on Sunday morning and who puts all that effort in doing Saturday evening, right, gets the same kind of excitement as some others may get from the style of that worship service, right? And yet, here's where the maturity in Christian faith comes in. And yet, we do it not because of me, and how wonderful it feels to me, but because we know that there are people to whom that style appeals, works, and we are there as Christians to build up a Christian community. You see, the moment we step outside our comfort zone, not only just to be present, but to actually help someone else connect with God in a way that we are not used to, that is a testament of our Christian maturity. And so this morning, I want to thank you. I want to begin with that. I want to thank you for being on this journey of Christian maturity that we are all on, and we are able to think beyond ourselves, beyond me. And I'm going to practice that and say, you guys take over, because it's not about me. Talk about invitation.
Well, as most of you know, I live in a 55 and older community, and we all share a clubhouse. And when I first moved in, I asked the social committee there about a book group. So we started a book group, and we now have 14 people that come every month, once a month. And through that, we've become very close neighbors and friends. So I was talking to them about St. Paul's and how we were leaving. And they were actually the ones who suggested, well, you could use our clubhouse if you want something. So hence the Bible study. And so I invited all of them to come, and 3 of them do come. So that was just because we were all close friends and neighbors, I guess, that happened. They're all Catholic, the 3 that come. So I don't know anything about Catholic faith, but a little bit. And I think they feel guilty sometimes. So they'll say, I can't come on Sundays or Saturday nights because I've got my church, and which is okay. Come when you can and join what you want. That's the beauty of the table, I find. Now, I invite everybody. Sunday, February 16th, we're going to have game day, which we had last Sunday. It was lots of fun. 2 to 4 at my clubhouse. And then once a month, we have a book group that meets at my house, and I invite you to that. That's February 20th at 2 p.m. Sure.
I do have a few notes, just so I don't get way off the path. So when Amjad asked me to speak today, and I thought, okay, well, that's right up my alley. My first job was customer service, and every job I've ever had, restaurant, sales, all customer service. So, and you learn from, in my volunteering all my life since I was 14, I really don't have a problem approaching people, if you can already know that, and my gift for gab. I would say that initially, when you're speaking to somebody about something you really, really are joyous about, then you have to show it. Your body language, or, leaning in when you ask the question, oh, do you want to come, Saturday night to community dinner? And, oh, what's that? And then, once you ask, which I've learned over the years, you just have to be quiet and listen to maybe they want to come or don't, or what is it all about. So, which I've met people out and about, even at the grocery store, and I don't know how, except it's food connected, that we get on the subject of Saturday nights too. But mostly it's listening and then asking them, would you come just one time? And there's a fine line between asking and then being pushy. So your timing is always going to be, okay, give them an out and say, listen, we're there every Saturday. So, or church is, right here on River Road, and it's in a restaurant. And they find that really interesting. So over the years, I've learned through sales and also training that it takes the ratio is about 10 to 15 people before you get one yes. So you got to remember that too. Like, I've gotten a lot of no's in my job, and and asking people to volunteer with me, all those different things. So you can't get defeated, and you can't get overly aggravated. But Lisa's not here today, but she laughs. She goes, yeah, when I think back to how many times you gave me just a little seed. Like, initially, she came to St. Paul's for a while. Not that many times, but over the years she had come. And then when we started this, and she said, you're meeting where? And initially she knew about all the different places. And now we're here. So it was her, though, that had said, way out of I hadn't talked about having her come for months. And she texted me one day and she goes, like, I need it, I'm coming. And she loves it here. So, and Amjad, she loves it. So the other things I would say is you really just have to have, sometimes it's hard, I know, for people that are introverts, but you really have to have in a relationship, even if it's just a short time, like last night, talking to Billy again. This is a friend of Paula's that doesn't have a car. Paula, when he comes, she'll go get him, and just learning about what they need. And I asked him, I said, and he's a veteran, so I said, are you inviting other people here? Because he really loves it. And he said, yes, I've invited a few, but I gave him a few tips. And I said, and then invite somebody that has a car. So, not that he's right off of Roosevelt Drive, but I'm like, you could invite somebody and then they'll drive you and bring another. So yeah, you have to spread your circle. So you're not the only one inviting. And I've asked that a few other people. We have Kathleen that's brand new, that's now come 3 times in a row. And I said, don't feel like you can't bring a friend or invite other people. So I really think it's just practice over the years. Although I do remember my mother saying, by the time I got out of kindergarten, half of that class had come to dinner at my house. I'm not sure why I didn't get the other half there, but yeah, so I guess it's just feeling that my passion about this church and my passion about the people here, and I want everybody to feel that. So that's all I got.
The Spirit and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. He who testifies to these things says, yes, I am coming soon. Come, Lord Jesus. Today you had the opportunity to reflect on a time when you invited someone or when you received an invitation. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's pretty simple, but my husband is Greek, and he's real proud of his heritage. And about a year ago, we invited 4 couples from our village to come and have dinner, and we served Greek food. And we were with them last night, and one of them said, "Did you bring anything Greek?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I didn't." They still talk about, because there were different foods than they were used to eating, and it just was such a sense of community and love because of that particular meal. So it was happy.
So I'm remembering back a little ways when my family, not my family here, but the family I grew up with, were always having arguments. This one wasn't talking to this one, and that one wasn't talking to that one. And then you all sort of got together and saw people at funerals. So I decided I wanted to see my cousins, and I wanted to be, closer with everybody. So I decided to throw a party, and the name of the party was Nobody Died, but Let's Get Together Anyway. And it really brought people together. So.
I would say my first invitation to a church was, I was young. When my dad died, I was before 5. My mom stopped going to church for whatever reason. And growing up, and then I became pregnant very young, and I wanted to find a church. And all those I went to were very cold or whatever. But I was playing the keyboard at someone's just Christmas party, just, in the background. And I say older folks, but now my age, so it's like, it's all a matter of perspective. But they said, hey, our church is looking for an organist. And I did one of the, like, what, you talking to me? And that was my very first invitation. And I believe that was God ordained, because through that invitation is where I really started to walk with Christ. It became a job, but I was in the church, I was surrounded by believers, and then just looking back now, each step of the way was an invitation, and then getting the invitation from Pastor Amjad well over a year ago when I was still involved in another church. I'm like, no, I'm with somebody, another church, but you know what? God gives you those invitations, and then in His time, He will reveal what those invitations really mean. And I just thank God for all those invitations and those that I finally accepted.
We're thankful you did too.
So I have something kind of similar that probably about 7 years ago, you had asked me if I was interested in starting to help out with the leadership of the Bible study. And I said no. Definitely was not in that place. And then once the pandemic hit and we started to move everything virtual, you asked me again, can you help out at least? To get things, moving. So I did, and, slowly walk me along, and Amanda knows sometimes it takes me a while to get to the right answer on things. But, sometimes that gradual idea of invitation works, similar to, Robin, what you were saying.
Sometimes it's just planting the seed. Oh, hey, Amanda, you like to make memes? Oh, you like to play with Facebook? Hey, Amanda, how about you? And all of a sudden, you're like this. But sometimes you can't just directly ask people, I find. You have to plant that seed, and you have to water it, because plants don't grow if you don't water it, but it doesn't have to be directly. I had invited my sister to come to church 1,000,000 times. And every time it's like, no. But she came to the Christmas service. And we were talking about things and different things. She's like, but you have such a community. You're so involved. I said, well, there's only 40 of us. I have to be involved. But meaning that, yes, of course I'm involved. I want to be involved. She goes, I said, but, you're always welcome to come. She goes, well, I'll always come to Christmas. That was awesome. And I was like, it just struck me of sometimes people just need to see. They need to be thrown into what you're doing to realize, oh, this isn't just sitting around and listening and preaching and flags waving all the time. It's so much more. That all of that can go together to be praising Jesus. And so I don't know that she'll probably just come for Christmas for a few years, but she knows we're here if she ever feels that call to Jesus. And I think knowing that somebody's there is amazing. That you may not share all your troubles all the time, but the invitation of knowing there's a community that supports you when you need them and that you're there for them is huge for the invite that I felt.
I just want to say along the lines of, I don't know who you were talking about, Amanda, that person with the memes and all. But I just want to say that person, spiritually speaking, is in the spirit, and he or she can tell when someone needs. Jesus has what? The rod and the staff, right? The hook is to pull the sheep in, right? So the sheep are wandering away, and Jesus grabs you with that hook, and he doesn't say, hey, come here, because he knows you're a sheep, and you're just going to keep going. Come here, sheep. You got to hook them. You got to grab them. You got to hook them. You got to do. And so I think part of the reason that we're all here today is because of that shepherd and the way he shepherds us and recognizes when we need the hook. You know, because we do. I do. We all do. And it's a good thing. It's a really blessed thing to feel the love of someone who is paying that much attention to your spirit. You know what I mean? That's a godly thing. I just want to say that.
Okay, I had something too. Inviting people for social stuff, like come have tea or coffee, is easy, but having faith stuff is hard. I struggle with it. And I really felt when Umjid said, no, you need to encourage us to find prayer partners. I kind of felt God through the week saying, no, you need to do this, you need to do this. And when so when I did, it was such a blessing. And sometimes it was a crazy day Friday, I completely forgot about it. And then my friend Bridget, she comes in the door, it's like, it's time to pray. And it was just that help I needed Friday. So that was a blessing. But I find it really hard to invite people to faith stuff still. And so I feel like I'm a work in progress.
Most of you, I think, if you came to Saturday, you've met my sister, and she's come here a few times. But my sister was always, we were raised Catholic, and as soon as we made our confirmation, then my parents said, okay, it's up to you to go if you want to go. And so then she never was really into the church or anything. And I've been inviting her for years. She's been to a few things with St. Paul's. And so then a woman at her work had invited her to come to her church for something. And so I have to say, my sister has been going to that church, and we were all shocked. And she's been going on Wednesdays for prayer group. And so now when we say, oh, you want to go? I can't go on Wednesday, I have prayer. And we're like, what? But it's a great formation. And she has been coming a few times more on Saturday nights. And she called me yesterday. So what time are you going? When can I meet you in the parking lot? And I'm like, okay. And I told her, that I was going to be there. And so she's like, oh, I like coming. It's fun. And she goes, I like, the music. And so it's just a blessing. And that on Thanksgiving, she gave grace at the table. And of course, the rest of the family was harassing her a little bit. Al got annoyed and stood up for her. But Al and I were shocked because she was saying a wonderful grace and giving thanksgiving to the Lord. And we were like, it's happening, So that's encouraged me to just, like Robin was saying, it's like you can't be a pest about it, but just every once in a while, just mention it, open it, and you never know. She's not coming here, but she's going somewhere, and she's getting what she needs. And so that was just, yeah. And so you might see her a little bit more. So thank the Lord.
I guess I can revert back to how people feel when they're asked. There's always this feeling like, I don't belong. I'm not the same as you. So I kind of shy back, go back, and I always remember this. When I was invited to a executive meeting as a guest, and I was way down here, as I thought, and they were way up here. And I felt kind of out of place, nervous, excited. One of the gentlemen there asked me, how was I doing? And I said, I feel different. This is not where I belong. And he said to me, and this was the key, you just remember one thing. You are just the same as they are. You put your pants on one leg at a time.
So I'm mindful of the time and the fact that we have the boss baby looking at us, that there is a party here afterwards, and we don't want to go over. So very quickly, I would say, I wasn't going to share this, but the key to the invitation, I feel, the key to the invitation is listening carefully. You never think about that when you think about invitation. But the key to invitation is to listen carefully, observe carefully, and really want to connect and get to know someone. Back at St. Paul's, every January at the end, there was a thing called the annual meeting. Thanks be to God, we don't have it. Right? We used to have that annual meeting. And when I got there first, right, I was learning the community. I didn't know everybody. And around the annual meeting, everyone, I heard people going, is Charlie going to be there? And I was like, who is this guy, Charlie? And why is everyone worried if he's going to be there or not? And then I learned why. Because Charlie would ask very, very straightforward, honest questions about the finances. And people were not feeling comfortable responding to those questions, right? And we all know why, but there were problems there, right? And every year, there was this feeling of fear in a certain group of people. Is Charlie going to be there? Right? And then we reached a point where I said we sort of began the reformation of that whole system, because, as you all know me, I love to see things out in the open. They should be open and transparent, not hidden, not just a few people, but everyone should be participating in the conversation, because that's the only way we can be true and honest, when everything is transparent. So part of that reformation required someone to take over the accounts and really to fix them. And so the person I thought of was Charlie. And I went to him kind of concerned whether he would say yes or no, right? Because I was like, if he says no, I don't have anyone to ask, right? And so I really wanted him to say yes, but I wasn't sure, right? But I went to him sort of trembling, and I said, Charlie, I need someone to do this. Would you be willing to take it on? And he didn't say, oh, yeah, I'll think about it, I'm busy or whatever. He said, oh, okay. Now, why am I sharing this? Because you see, all those years that Charlie would get up to ask the question, honest question, he didn't do it because he wanted to be difficult for that community. He did it because he knew it could be done in a better way, right? And because if people were listening, they would listen for that. They would listen for that person who's saying, guys, this can be done a better way, right? And what is the response? The response is to invite that person to say, okay, then help us out, do it in a better way. And as you all know, Charlie did an absolutely magnificent job with the work that he did. And my friends, this is how it relates to our theme today. Zacchaeus was on that tree for a reason. because Zacchaeus wanted to be the recipient of grace. He wanted to be part of that community. There was something in him that said, I want that connection. But you know what needed to happen? Jesus needed to observe where Zacchaeus was. And I feel oftentimes in invitation, we miss where people are. Either we are not listening, or we are not seeing them, or we are not hearing them, or we are just not observing where they are, right? And so if somebody is making memes, they are crying out, hey, I can make memes, right? Or if someone knows how to sing and play, they're saying, I'm here. If someone knows how to manage a whole operation, they're saying, I'm here, right? And I could go on, but that's not the point. The point is when people are committed to observing others and really looking closely with the intent of having a relationship. Had Jesus not looked up and seen where Zacchaeus was, we would not have had that story, and even more than that, Zacchaeus would not have had that salvation that day. Right? So the very first step towards invitation, in an invitation, is to truly observe where people are. Listen, observe, see. What is it that you are wanting in your life? And then the second step is to actually offer an invitation. And Robin said it beautifully. You have to kind of tailor it to the person, right? You have to know how you're going to present it. Because if someone's need is to be in a community, then that is what you're going to offer. But if someone's need may be there to be in a community, but it may be to connect with God with or without the community, then that is what you're going to offer. If someone's need is to be known, right, for that beautiful talent that they have to host book groups, and if you have been in Sandy's book group, you will know what goes into the hosting of that book group. It's not just reading a book, by the way, right? That whole, you have been there, right? You know that she listens carefully to the characters in the book, and then she will make things for eating that are from that story. Right? That is her way of observing and listening and connecting, not only with the characters, but inviting everyone who she has invited to her home to connect.
And you get excited for the next one because you don't know where she's going to come.
Right? That first listening, second to offer an appropriate invitation. Listen to where people are, then tailor your invitation. Jesus knew that there is a reason why Zacchaeus is up on the tree. Because he's saying, I wish to be saved. Do you think that he thought at the spur of his moment that I'll give this much away? He probably had been thinking, if given an opportunity, what would I do? It's like me, right? When I think about, what would happen if I win a lottery worth $1 billion? Because I don't want to win anything below $1 billion, right? What would happen if I do that? Well, I have a plan, right? And so it's not like you don't think about this amazing thing that will happen in your life, right? He had probably thought of this amazing thing. If Jesus does grant him that, what will he do? And immediately he unveils his program. This is what I'm going to do, right? So my friends, it may appear that people are not willing to listen to you about the church. But if we listen carefully, there is some need that the church fulfills that we can connect with them. That is why gospel tracts don't work. You know why they don't work? Because it's all about what I want to tell others. It's not about listening to where someone is. So, appropriate invitation. Offer an appropriate invitation. And then, not everyone will receive your invitation. Right? Your ratio is very conservative. It can be 100 to 1 too, right? But the thing is, we can't stop inviting just because the very first person we invited didn't show up exactly for the thing that we wanted them to come. We cannot stop inviting, right? We have to continue inviting. And then there just may be a time when it aligns with where they are, when they have done all the thinking and something clicks, right? So that's also part of inviting, that we have to continuously offer. We keep hearing that and we keep gently offering. I mean, you know, I was like, why am I not seeing Cheryl? And she can tell you how much I have pestered her in the last few months, right? Right? And then somehow, something, somewhere connected for you, and I think you might have come here and felt like, wow, why was I not here, right? And it connected for you. But that pestering, which you may think of as pestering, can change someone's life, right? It may seem like you are doing that, but if you're doing it with listening carefully to where someone is. So it's not that you are giving a sales pitch. If inviting someone to be in a relationship with Jesus Christ is your sales pitch, then please don't do it. Right? Don't do it as a sales pitch. Do it with the deep conviction that Jesus Christ transforms lives. And if you know that Jesus Christ transforms lives, then you also know that Jesus Christ can transform any life. There are no barriers, and that's what we talked about last night, that welcome is for everyone. And if you have noticed, the same passages, I speak differently on Saturday and I speak differently here on Sunday, those who attend both, right? Because, let me ask you, what's the reason?
Listening to the audience.
Because the audience is different. That audience is being bombarded from wherever they go to church or don't go to church, that this is the way to be. Forgetting that Jesus offers the invitation freely to the person who is the sinner. Right? So my friends, what I would love to see, just as you have matured in your faith, in seeing people beyond yourself, in showing up for and participating and supporting Saturday night, even when that may not be the way you thought one could worship, right? Or thought that one could be a Christian community. Just the way you are expressing the maturity of your faith through your actions. It is my deep desire and my prayer for you, each of you, that you would start listening to people who are around you. Because, and here's why, because every human being, my friends, every human being is on a quest to make sense of their purpose and meaning. Every human being is on a quest to make sense of their purpose and meaning. And through my conviction and hopefully yours, we know that no one gives it a better meaning and purpose and answer for that question or to that question than Jesus, our Lord and Savior. And so it is incumbent on us to invite, because everyone is on that quest. I close this by saying, last night I came across a post on Nextdoor app, and someone said, can anyone recommend to me any churches in the area? My church is great, and but I just want to experience other churches. Oh boy, that's an invitation to every church, right? So everyone is saying, and I was proud of Dawn. Dawn is not here this morning. Dawn put us there too, right? And I was quite proud of that. And there was this one person who I think was the very first person to respond to that. And he said, some of us are not interested in organized religion. There are 56 comments here, as you can imagine. Right? Okay, I'll give you the summary of that. Summary of it is, I said to him, are you interested in a disorganized religion? If you're not interested in an organized religion, how about a disorganized one? Right? And I went on to talk about how the very fact that he is saying that some of us don't need organized religion tells me that somewhere there was a quest that resulted in some situation where you got put off by organized religion. Right? That's why you arrived at that conclusion. Because something happened somewhere in your life, or you have a perception of something happened in your life where you came to that conclusion that, we don't need organized religion because X, Y, and Z. Right? And I went on to say, I will never advocate for organized religion. And I don't, and you all know. Right? Let's never, that's not something to advocate. We advocate for Jesus Christ, who, by the way, was not a big fan of organized religion. Right? So if we are followers of Jesus Christ, we cannot be big fans of organized religion either. Right? And I said to him, I know that you have a quest for meaning and purpose. Question is, would you like to do it in a community? Would you like to pursue your quest in a community? Because if you would like to, I would invite you to a disorganized, right, community. Let's have that conversation there. So, my friends, what I would say to you is, let's make this a priority for us. Not to do a sales pitch, but to listen carefully, invite appropriately, keep on being a best, right? Keep on offering and not get discouraged if you have offered 100 invitations and only one or none is responded to. Keep on doing it, because in the end, Jesus says, today salvation has come to your house. Because in the end, my friends, the salvation is directly linked to the invitation. May we all become agents for salvation for other people. Amen.
Thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe.